Do you sometimes not feel good, or maybe even worse, today you just feel like a turd? Well, you're in luck because today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to feel good.
This moment.
This is the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. What's going on, Danny?
What's up, Randy?
Have you ever felt less than stellar?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I feel like I swing back and forth between okay and not good, like
Uh,
on a regular basis. And it happens so randomly and so fast sometimes I hate it. Like
mhm.
yeah, it's frustrating.
And the worst part is it like changes your whole perspective of life. Like
Oh God,
whatever,
everything.
however you're feeling right now, it's like if you're feeling bad right now, it's like your whole perspective of life is just terrible. But if you're feeling good right now, well, then things will turn out.
Yeah, once I started to pay more attention to it, I really realized that it was like my entire attitude was dependent on just how I felt.
Hmm.
And mostly
100%.
whether I'm hungry or tired.
Yeah, 100%. So we're each going to give three quick fixes for a total of six for those of you who aren't really great with math on how to feel good. Uh, I will start since I introduced this week. My first one is smile, sing, and dance. Now, I wrote these down because they say that emotion follows motion. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg. You don't know which comes first because it's like, do you whistle because you're happy or are you happy because you whistle? That type of thing. But I know from a fact, like when I focus on smiling, eventually I feel better. And singing and dancing, that's like they say that's what life is about, singing and dancing. And so I think if you do all three of those things when you're feeling pretty lousy, that would help you feel good.
I like that one too, because if they actually, I think if I remember correctly, they teach that to little kids too, for like, when they're feeling down to like, because you get the energy out, like singing, dancing, movement and stuff,
Mm.
forcing yourself to smile. It's also like kind of goofy, so it makes you look at things from a different perspective for a moment. Like, like this is silly, but like, why not? Because like it makes you feel better. And the physicality of it, like it makes you just, it's hard not to feel good when you're smiling. You just associate one with the other. So it's like, it's hard not to eventually find that happiness there.
And it's crazy because we know this stuff. Because if you say to somebody like, okay, imitate somebody who's depressed, they'll slouch, they'll frown, they'll be like they're looking at the ground, but they're like, imitate someone who's feeling good. They'll just start like whistling and singing and dancing and great posture movements. Ba da ba da ba da ba.
Yeah, you feel good. Ready to take things on. It's great.
Yeah.
I like that one. My first one is find goals that excite you. I think this is like I know we came across this. I think it was a Martha Beck's book actually too, but she had mentioned the idea that like a lot of people that came to her for help about their life, like they would mention they were like tired, depressed, lethargic all the time, didn't have energy, and like she found like a lot of it was like they just were unhappy with what they were doing with their relationships and stuff, and that was just like making them not want to face life, right? If you hate the things you're doing and your goals in life, you're not going to want to face life and you're not going to have the energy to face life. So you have to find things that like matter to you. And I said excite, but matter, just like things that really do like energize you or that have value for you, really. And doing it is so much easier. And I know that for a fact for myself too, because like once I started doing things that I really like it's so much easier to get them done. And it's like, yes, they're still hard, but like the days that are hard are way less hard than if I, actually didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I've heard it in multiple places where they say that the progressive realization of a worthy ideal is like, that's like success, happiness, all those things. And also just like working on something you want to do. So making sure that you have worthwhile goals is really important. And even if
Oh,
it's something
I
that's
would,
far off, if you can just do a little bit.
yeah, yeah, you get closer to it, right? I always think too of like all the philosophers I like really admire. Like Nietzsche's a great example where his life was terrible, but he had this like mission, these ideas that he wanted to get out, and like that really kept him going and made it, ultimately made his life really valuable in the end.
Yeah. I read something today where it was talking about like people with bucket lists. Like everybody has bucket lists that these things they want to get done before they die. But like Earth to whoever is listening to this right now, you're literally getting closer to death every single moment. Like the only thing that's happening is you're getting closer to death. And people think they have these giant bucket lists thinking that they're going to live forever, but you're not. So like
Or they think
actually
or
actually
they think they're
taking a
going to
look
take
at your
10
bucket
days,
list.
right? They're
Yeah.
going to take
Yeah,
10 days at
right?
the end and do all this stuff. And it's like, what if you feel terrible? What if
Hmm.
you don't want to, do it when you feel good, do it when you're ready to do it. I never understood that, waiting till the very end to do these things that you really like. If there's something you really want to do it now. Don't wait.
Yeah, or like,
Third.
it's that time of the year where people make New Year's resolutions. Don't waste your time on that. But you could take a look at your bucket list and prioritize, find the two or three, five things that would be most awesome if you did them in life and start working towards them. Have little
Yeah,
goals like that. That'll reinvigorate you.
that's a good one.
Yeah. So my next one, number two, would be find the silver lining in everything. Be a Pollyanna. I had a real life example of this in vet school. There was a girl who literally like sunshine and rainbows about everything. She was the happiest person I've ever met in her life, in my life. And
Or
no
like,
matter, yeah, I know.
and
And
it hurts.
but like no matter what, it's like she refused to acknowledge that the downsides. She probably saw them because
Good
she
for
was a
her.
very smart girl. She was one of the
Yeah.
top two students in the class. And so she was a very smart girl. Like I doubt that she didn't see the bad stuff, but she continually focused on the good stuff and she would talk about the good stuff. She would focus on the good stuff. She would find the good stuff, especially when nobody else could. And it's just like you could see because like her whole life was good. She felt good because of this.
No, I was just gonna say, like, why, why focus on the bad anyway? I hate that. And there's nobody worse than people that just continuously bring up the bad and focus on the bad. They make your life miserable. They're miserable. It's like it's a fact that if you focus on negativity, you get back negativity. It's the only way it works. The only way to turn things around and feel good is to focus on the positive. And it's hard, but it's always there. There's always a silver lining. Like, you hear people say it all the time, like, yeah, it was hard that I lost my job, but it gave me a chance to do this, that I really wanted to do. Or like, I can say from my own experience, like it was hard realizing that I have no future in the one career that I was in for a while, but you know what? It gave me a chance to reassess things and do something I really want to do, and that's way better. So it's like you got to look at like the positive lining makes things so much better, I think, and so much easier. That's a really good
Mm.
one. I like that one. Um, my next one is listen to your body, and this connects with my first one because I had mentioned like that idea of like you know a lot of times when we feel tired, when we focus on the negative, when we don't feel good, it's because we're doing stuff we don't want to do. So starting to listen to ourselves to find that direction and navigate life and actually like be more self-aware basically so that we can start to recognize like, oh, I feel like crap. Maybe it's because I'm doing something I don't want to do. Maybe it's because I'm seeing somebody I shouldn't be seeing. Maybe it's because, I'm dealing with the burden of these obligations that I really don't want. They're not my obligations. They're ones that other people placed on me. And starting to kind of say no to that stuff and recognize it and then starting to create your life.
Yeah, that's a great one. And it takes like a lot of discernment in order to notice it because so often these things they're like momentary things that'll trigger us or make us feel differently or we're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, cold, like whatever it is, these things they just trigger us and it's so easy to automatically go down the rabbit hole of oh my life sucks, this is so terrible, blah blah blah, when it's just like you know what? I'm just a little bit hungry. Why don't I just go eat a Snickers?
Yeah, it's like the commercial.
I know, right? Yeah,
Why
but
wait?
it's being able to notice that because so often it's very easy to go down the rabbit hole. Like I notice that all the time. One of the reasons that I can't stand looking at my phone ever is because it's the easiest thing to get distracted on. Like
Yeah.
I'll go and I'll be like, I need to message this person, and I'll open up the messaging app, and there's like three other messages, and then I just get lost, and I shut my phone 20 minutes later, and I still didn't message the person that I needed to message, and it's just like, and I feel terrible because like whatever someone else said. So it's like learning to recognize that and picking up on it when it happens, as opposed to just letting it take you away.
That's such a good example too, because the technology is literally designed for that to like distract you to the point where you like totally lose yourself. And like I think people don't realize that like maintaining yourself and like being self-aware, like all of that, all those distractions are really trying to take you away from that. And when you lose that, you lose everything. You
Dude,
really do.
I love zombie hunting, and you don't even need to hunt anymore. It's like zombie
Yeah.
spotting, just finding
Yeah.
people whose brain has just been hijacked by their phone. They're standing like in the middle of a doorway, or they're standing at a very busy intersection on the sidewalk or something like that, and they're literally just like engulfed in their phone. And you know what it normally is? It's like they're scrolling Instagram or it's a text message. And it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
those two things. And it's crazy. Yeah.
It's nuts. It's
which
insane.
which brings us which brings
Oh.
us to how to feel good number 3. And my third one is just smack the phone out of those people's hands. That's how I feel good. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's my
Slap in the
that's me
face.
fantasize. I know that's me fantasizing, just like smacking, being like fumble and just smack the phone out. But I've never done that because they would probably get angry. uh
Yeah.
so
It'd be fun though.
my third one comes from Marcus Aurelius, and he says you can have anything you want by a circuitous route immediately if you'll just do these 4 things. And basically, everything that we want, we just want to feel good. We want to be happy. We want to feel good. So you can
Yeah.
actually have that now instead of going this long circuitous route, like, oh, I need to make $1 million and then buy a house and trophy spouse and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, you can have it all right now if you just do these 4 things. It's forget the past, have faith in the future, love what is, and act right.
Yeah. And he was a pretty smart guy.
Very smart guy. Because it's crazy because like all of our problems don't exist in the present. Very rarely, unless you're like presently being eaten by a crocodile or like dragged
Yeah.
up a tree by
Yeah.
a cougar. You know,
Yeah.
like that's when your problem exists in the present. But for the most part, our problems exist either in the past or in the future. Things we have zero control over. We can't change them anyways. And
I would say too, they exist in our imagination, really, is where they exist. Like
mhm,
99% of the time, and we make it worse and we view the world worse, right? So yeah, I think he's dead
yeah.
on. Like if you focus on now, like you can
Yeah,
have everything.
like what Mark Twain was saying, I've suffered a great many tragedies in life, most of which never happened. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's crazy because all of this stuff happens in our head. If we just let go of the stuff that already happened to us, because we can't change that anyways,
Yeah.
okay? And then just have faith that things will work out in the future so we don't have to worry about that. Well, already that's like 99% of your problems are gone. And then you, instead of, if you have good stuff, it kind of goes back to like the silver lining thing, love what is. So, like, what can you
Yeah.
find that's really good right now? Love that stuff. And
And you'll be
then
able to
just,
do it if you let go of the past and the future. Gee, how many people
mhm,
do you know too that like they're haunted by their past. They can never get away from it. And like it's
yeah,
destroyed their lives. Like I could think of like 5 people right now, and it's sad
yeah.
because it's like they're living with this burden of the past that they just can't let go. And it's ruin and it's like it's prevented them from being themselves and living their own life. And likewise,
Mhm.
the same with the future. You know, it can do the same thing where you're not living in the present anymore. You're stuck in some other time that's inconsistent with now, and you're fighting reality. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And people be like, but I can't forget the past because it's blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, whatever happened, happened. And it may have sucked, but like you can learn from it and be
Yeah.
grateful that it happened that way so you can learn the lesson and move on. And they're like, blah,
And
blah,
you know,
blah,
it's
blah, blah.
funny.
Well, whatever.
Yeah. And if you don't forget it, you never move on. You never change it. It still affects your life. It still affects you. So really, the only way to actually get away from it is to just forget it. I think personally. Yeah. It's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one. He's a smart guy. My last one is routine. And the reason why I said this, because it seems counterintuitive, I think, to like how to feel good. But I've found personally like routine is great because like it doesn't have to be a ton, but just having some routines in the day gives you control over your day. And I noticed like now that I've have some established routines, like I take a walk with my dog every morning. You know, I always have like coffee at a certain time. I always like, write at a certain time, those things. It gives you like a more of an established kind of structured day. And so even when things are bad, you know what to do and you're more readily just to do it. And I think that's helped a lot because like even when I'm having a hard time, I do what I need to do and get it done. And I'm way better now at like when I don't want to do something, just being, all right, I'll just start, because now at the time that I would normally do it, I'll just start, I'll just do it. And you do it, and usually I feel better once I've started and once I do it. Because usually it's just getting up and moving or like, getting a drink or doing something that helps me feel better. So it's just, getting into it. And it works really well.
Yeah, yeah, and especially if you can put in your routine things that you know make you feel good. Like
That helps.
yeah, it's crazy. Like I can't even tell you how long in my life, number one, I didn't have a routine. And number two, I would just do stuff that would make me feel terrible. And then I'd
Yeah.
feel terrible. And I was like, surprise, surprise. We live in a potentially causal universe. Like if I do stuff that makes me feel terrible, I'm gonna feel terrible. But then doing stuff that makes me feel good, I end up feeling good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his routine was like one of the best ones. Once a week.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there
Very
you
good.
have it. Nice, simple, how to feel good, what everybody wants. We just gave it to you. Thank you so much for listening. If you did enjoy it, share with some friends, family, especially around the holiday season. My goodness. You can check us out on YouTube, also wherever you get your podcasts. This is the Existential Stoic Podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. I'll see you later, Danny.
Later, Randy.